but welcome to HBRV Lifestyle, the podcast. I am the host, the Honey Badger, here to give it to you straight and transparent about the RV business, as well as other things. Look out, the Brinkley RV Fanboy Club is on the attack. Look, I'm going to make this brief and short. I don't care how many members you have on your Facebook group. I'm part of Facebook groups that have 100,000 members that are a Keystone or a Grand Design, etc. type of stuff. Good morning, everyone. And the reason why I'm doing this episode this morning is because I've now gotten a couple of emails and a couple from people that I have 15,000 Facebook people that are on my Brinkley Facebook Nation and whatever. That doesn't mean that every single person that joined your Facebook group is a Brinkley owner. That's number one. Number two is a lot of Facebook groups set up rules for what you can and cannot post on your Facebook group. Good morning. So the reality is that you could tell me all you want, whatever you want. When Brinkley themselves have admitted that this is a massive problem, this crack in the sidewall is a massive problem, and that they are dealing with it, it's hard to argue with the manufacturer when they say they're having a massive problem, when they've made it public on social media. Now, their master marketer has put a spin on the thing, but I don't care if you put a spin on the thing. They've admitted they have a problem. And I think they don't even know what the problem is yet. They will eventually. And they'll have it fixed. I'm pretty confident they'll have it fixed. And I think I've mentioned that several times, but let me tell you why I'm confident they'll have it fixed. Because I think people don't understand why I believe, good morning, Greg. I believe they don't understand why I believe that Brinkley will fix it. Most people think it's because they have good customer service. That's not why, okay? That is a portion of what makes their marketing really good, okay? And a portion of why people lean towards a product that is built by this investment group, okay? But good morning, Scott. But let's remember, this is literally an investment group. This is literally a bunch of guys. The majority of them started Grand Design, sold it off in a couple of years, started a boat company, sold it off in a couple of years, were a part of Keystone RV when it sold off in a couple of years. Their goal is not to stay with a company for 20 plus years. Their goal is to build a company and sell it off for a massive profit. Okay? That's their goal. If that's their track record. And unfortunately, right now, for them, in this economy, there's no one buying. Okay? So while the retail side, the side I work on, has gotten better here in 2025 and better by a long shot because people are out buying again. The manufacturing side is going to take another 7-8 months to catch up to where retail is. So manufacturing is still really slow. And it's going to take some time for companies like Winnebago and Thor and Forest River to recover their losses that they've incurred over the last couple of years because of the way the economy has been. Not in the Montana. So this crack actually reminds me more of Heartland Sundance when I was working at Giant RV. So, and it was the same thing when it finally came down to it. Because the guys who own Alliance RV used to own and run Heartland when I was back in the day, and they built a good coach, but it just reminds me more of the Sundance fifth wheel and travel trailer problem. So, for whatever reason, the crack looks the same, and when they finally came about it, it was basically that there wasn't enough flex in the sidewall. I was talking to one of my buddies that worked on those things back in the day, and he's like, yeah, that's what it reminds me of. It reminds me more of those stress cracks that Sundance travel trailers and fifth wheels and North Trail travel trailers used to get back in 2011, 2012, 2013. And they had to go like back to the drawing board and redo how they were building their sidewalls, because there has to be some kind of flex. Okay. No, it's nothing to do with the chassis. See, Brinkley RV does not have a chassis problem. Okay, that's where everybody gets all upset and mad. And it's because nobody listens to the whole episode. They listen to a couple blurps, and then they get, where are you complaining about Brinkley? Where? No, listen to the whole episode before you start saying stupid stuff on my email and my DM. Stop talking crap when you didn't even listen to the whole episode. Stop crybabying. I'm going to call the freaking wambulance on most of these people. This is not a chassis problem. This has nothing to do with the chassis frame. This has nothing to do with frame failure, frame flex. That's a whole different issue with Grand Design. This is, okay, so the best way to explain this, and this is my opinion, okay, because I haven't felt the crack yet, okay, but here's what it looks like. So I've looked at now over 100 pictures that have been sent to me on almost, let's see now, 75, 80 units that people have sent me, plus all the snapshots I've gotten. So that's like 200, 250 units so far, okay? It looks like what happens is imagine your house is in a constant earthquake, because that's what an RV is. An RV is a constant earthquake going down the road, okay? Now imagine there's no flex and it's just stiff as a board. It's not moving, but yet there's an earthquake. What's going to eventually happen? It's going to start stressing. And then that's where stress cracks come. So if you go look at a house that's near fault lines, that gets a lot of earthquakes every year, and you look at the foundation, you look at sidewalks, you look at the drywall, you look at everything inside a house near there, they get stress cracks, okay? And they got to be filled and etc. So it's the same thing as it's basically the same thing as that. It's nothing to do with the chassis. Okay, they're gonna fix them. I think there's a couple ways. Now I remember how Heartland dealt with it. Okay, Heartland, it wasn't at the mass scale they're having a problem with right now, and part of the problem why Brinkley's having it on a mass scale right now is not because they're a pile of crap. I'm tired of hearing people say that. It's because whatever they're doing to the sidewall manufacturing wise, the retail side of the industry has kind of picked up steam, and they've kind of picked up steam over the last 6 months, and people are finally using them. And now that they're using them, God, it's nice and raining. And now that they're using them, now those things are coming out. Whether it's a 23, a 24, 25, it's coming out. I remember what Heartland did. Heartland rebuilt the sidewall. So they basically took apart the coach and they rebuilt the sidewall. I remember they tried to fill it. That didn't work out. And they rebuilt the sidewall. Brinkley is going to handle this. I don't know how. I mean, they've asked for help. Obviously, there's been posts all over the internet that they're asking for help, that they're looking for outside sources to help them, which is awesome. Okay, and let's give credit where credit's due. Brinkley's on top of it. I'm going to tell you why a little bit later, but they're on top of it. Okay. You can't really go to automated. I mean, here's the problem. Cars have just as big of a problem. Well, if you don't fix them, you're going to get in rain. And so if you decide to not fix your Brinkley, if you decide not to fix the crack, if you decide not to report it to Brinkley and anything of that nature, you could get condensation in there. Even though they're all aluminum framed, there is wood inside their coach, just like there's wood in everybody's coach. That being said, you can get mold. You can get water damage. You can create delamination, even though it's more than likely Asdale fiberglass. When the moisture gets inside, it can still cause delamination. You don't want that. You really want to get these guys to fix it, and they're going to fix it. So don't hold. If you're seeing these cracks, if you're starting to see the start of these cracks in your Brinkley, don't wait. Even if it's only like an inch or two, don't wait. These guys are handling it. These guys are going to fix it. The earlier you can catch it, the easier it's going to be for them to fix it. When you start letting it get too far, like some of these folks, when you look at their post or you read the stuff that they've sent me, the first thing they tell me is, oh, it started out as this little thing, but now it's grown to like 10 inches or 8 inches. And I'm like, what? When you noticed it the first time, why didn't you just call them and tell them? And again, a lot of reasons why people don't like to report problems is because we've seen what happens to Grand Design RV and their value of their used units. People are afraid they're just going to get their unit value trashed over it. That might be so, but I don't think so, because this isn't something that is a hidden problem within their chassis. This is a problem within their sidewall construction. This is a problem with the frame of their sidewall. This has nothing to do with their chassis. This has nothing to do with the frame of the chassis failing, from what I can tell, because this is happening in a specific parts of their travel trailers and their fifth wheels. This isn't something that has multiple failures. This isn't something where you see, because like, okay, so the main thing is, here, let me see if I need both my hands. Okay, so let's say, oh, my back is killing me today. So I'm not going to the gym, even though I should go to the gym. Okay, here we go. I need both my hands for this. Okay, so let's just say, that it was going to be a frame failure problem. Let's say it was a chassis issue with Brinkley. So not only would you have the sidewall cracks, but you would start seeing the floor and the wall separating, like we've seen on a lot of the Grand Design fifth wheels, over 35 feet over the last, 5, 6, 7 years, model years. Okay, like 20, basically, I've heard of reports of 2014s all the way to 2024s. No 2025s, the Grand Design, okay? So, obviously, they figured it out. So, you would see these separations. You're not seeing that. So, Brinkley, with a Brinkley fifth wheel on a travel trailer, you're not seeing any wall separations at all. You're not seeing any daylight. Nobody's reporting. Everybody's checking their closets. Everybody's checking their walls. You're not seeing any daylight, nothing of that nature. So obviously this isn't the frame itself. This is actually in the sidewall construction. So for those of you that think that this is a frame failure problem when it comes to the chassis, that's not true. when it comes to people who want to scream and yell and boo-hoo and call the ambulance because somebody's talking bad about Brinkley RV, go do your homework before you start talking crap, okay? Really. A bubble is a little bit different. So a bubble means that there's some kind of condensation getting inside there. So there's a crack somewhere. So there's condensation getting in there. That's called delamination. You know, government regulation, the government, I keep telling people this, the government will never regulate the RV or boat industry. And the reason why is there's not a lot of them built. Okay. Yes, there's a lot of companies. So we're going to pick on Forest River about this because Forest River is the easiest one to pick on. Okay. Forest River has several divisions of RVs. Then they have boats. Then they have dump trailers. Then they have pontoon boats, etc., 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 etc. Right now, you have Doug Gettard, who's your CEO of RVs, and then you got two other CEOs and presidents of the other companies under the Forest River umbrella. Okay? So when you think about Forest River and you think about the money that's brought into Forest River, the revenue, it's several $billion. Okay? But that's coming from multiple divisions that have, some of them have nothing to do with the RV industry or the boat industry. On an average year, there's only 300,000 to 400,000 RVs built. So why are you going to set a government regulatory system for 400,000 units? They're not going to, especially with this Doge thing in place. It's never going to get regulated. Not the way people think it should be regulated. Now, good morning, Nathan. They're mainly on the front. They're either on the front passenger or the front driver's side. They're so far I haven't seen anybody with one in the middle or in the rear. This is the front. So that's what makes me think the wall is too stiff. Okay? The wall itself has no movement. So it's causing that stress crack. Right? So that's why I'm trying to tell people that are comparing me to Greg Carson. It's like Greg Carson is telling you it's a chassis problem. You can go talk about that later. This is not a chassis problem. This is a sidewall problem. This is a fix that might cost Brinkley a shit ton of money. But it's a lot easier to deal with a wall that's not flexing, that's creating a stress crack, than it is to deal with a chassis problem. Okay? That's the other reason why I know that Brinkley is going to take care of this. The main reason why I know Brinkley is going to take care of this is because no one's going to buy the company for a while. Okay? No one's going to buy Brinkley for a while. Not because they don't want to. No one's going to buy Alliance RV or Genesis Supreme RV or Outdoors RV or Northwood Manufacturing. None of the independents are going to get sold. Okay, and just to give you an idea, the big conglomerates. Now, I take this information with a grain of salt, but the big conglomerates are looking to sell companies they own. As an example, and I don't know if this is true or not, but Rev Group has put Lance trailers and truck campers up for sale. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, because I can't get anybody to confirm it, but these large corporations are looking to sell companies that they purchased or acquired over the last 10, 15 years because these big manufacturers are broke. They're cash poor. Winnebago has lost its absolute rear end over the last 2 years. And then you go look at retail. Camping World for the last 2 years, which is the biggest retail store we have in the industry, has lost their ass for the last 2 years. So there's no one to go out and buy this company from this investment group. So they're going to try to make this go away, not in a negative way, but they're going to try to make this go away. And the easiest way to make this go away is publicly acknowledge it, which they sort of have. I mean, they put a nice little curveball and spin doctored it, but that doesn't matter. They at least acknowledged it publicly. And then, on top of that, they're asking for help already. This isn't Grand Design RV and Winnebago, deny, let's blame the consumer, deny, let's send corporate RV dealership YouTubers out to say that it's less than 0.5%. It's not one of those situations. Okay, it's one of those situations, and pay attention, Brinkley Facebook guys, okay? Pay attention. Hope you listen to the whole episode before you start making dumbass comments. Brinkley is taking care of it, to ask for outside sources to help them with the problem, to get ahead of the problem. I mean, yes, they're a little bit behind, okay? And no, I'm not singing the praises of them. What I'm saying is they deserve credit where credit's due. I give credit to companies when they deserve credit. They screwed up. They know they screwed up. They acknowledge they screwed up. Kinda. And they're already asking service people and body shop people and fiberglass people across the country for help. How long did it take Grand Design RV to finally raise their hand and ask for help from an outside source to fix their chassis frames that they're having major issues with? Or they were, I should say. A long time. It was deny. Okay? Now, part of that denial is there's a lot of lawyers out there trying to sue Grand Design. It's all over Facebook, all over Instagram, all over social media. So, this is a separate problem, a separate issue. It will get dealt with. Yeah, that's true, K-Tech, but this is not that kind of problem, okay? It doesn't matter what freeway you go down. It doesn't matter if it's the smoothest repaved freeway that goes from Los Angeles to New York City. It doesn't matter. A fifth wheel, especially a heavy fifth wheel, is an earthquake on wheels. I challenge people. This is why, like, people don't ride in them. And it doesn't matter what suspension you put on it. You still are going to have an earthquake. Now, the suspension helps with the earthquake, but it doesn't prevent the earthquake. These things bounce around the road, even if it's flat, no cracks, no problems. We hardly feel that in our cars, because any more cars are built with these air ride suspensions and these. It's not the old school cars that were built in the 1980s, 1990s where you felt every bump. Okay? So these things bounce significantly. It's a constant 7.0 earthquake. And if you got the more ride suspension, it's a 5.0 earthquake going down the road. Okay? And RVs in general have to flex. Boats have to flex. Agriculture trailers have to flex. If there's no flex, it creates massive stress problems on components. In this case, it's a sidewall. Okay? Does that mean Brinkley's a big piece of shit? No, I've never said that. So for these of you that keep emailing me saying I'm just bashing Brinkley because I'm jealous I don't get to sell them, I'm sorry, I would never want to sell a Brinkley. Okay? That's why I haven't gone to work for a Brinkley dealer or gone to work for a Grand Design dealer. That's why I never even put an application in for a Grand Design dealer or a Brinkley dealer. And when I find out they are a Grand Design or Brinkley dealer, I remove my application. It's nothing personal. It's just I have an understanding of where these investment guys are, and I don't want my name attached to those brands. Sorry. And I apologize to those brands. For Grand Design, you guys screwed up too bad. I used to go, hey, you know, it'd be nice to film a Grand Design and put it on my Facebook page or put it on my Instagram. I'm sorry, I'm just not into it anymore after all the frame failure problems. And the same investment group that started Grand Design, for the most part, plus or minus some people, started Brinkley. Not going to support them. Not going to give them my platform. They're not lifers in this industry where they're going to start one company and build it for 10 or 15 years. They have a history of pump and dump. Pump up a company, dump it for maximum profit. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. And I wish people would stop talking shit about that. It's fine to do that. It's America. We're a capitalist society. If that's the way they want to run their business and invest their money and invest their time, good. They have more money than they can spend. So if that's what they want to do and continue to do it. I'm just not going to be a part of it. That's just the way I feel about things, right? That's my personal belief. That's my personal thing. Will I support the guys at Alliance RV? Absolutely. If a company has Alliance on their lot, absolutely. Arctic Fox? Absolutely. Outdoors RV? Absolutely. Yes, the guys at Alliance sold Heartland. But if you guys go back to those days, those boys didn't plan on selling Heartland to Thor. Thor came in and made an offer they couldn't refuse. And I could guarantee you that the Brady boys, that's what I call them, they're not looking to sell Alliance. But I will guarantee you if someone made an offer they couldn't refuse, it would be very tough for them not to sell it. There's a big difference between the two companies and the two groups. Big difference. I trust because I've been around them, because I've sold their products, because of what they did back in the day with Heartland, before Thor got their grubby little hands on it. They did a great job. I trust them more than I trust the group with Brinkley. Okay? That's because I'm in the industry. I'm not a spin doctor. I'm not a master marketer. I'm a horrible salesperson. Okay? I get too frustrated. I get too impatient. I get tired of people's bullshit. I get tired when people come up and tell me the same story that the last 20 people told me because they're afraid to actually talk and give information. I give it about 30 minutes, and if they haven't told me the truth in 30 minutes, I'm out. I give up. Go walk around the lot. I don't want to deal with you. Okay? I want to have a real conversation with people. And I'm going to tell you, probably about 80% of you actually recognize that I ain't here to BS people to death. And we end up having a good conversation. And then 10% of you just want to be left alone. The other 10% want to continue the lie. It is what it is. Okay, they were a part of Keystone. They were a part of Keystone's management back in the 90s. Okay, and they did, from what I'm understanding, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, they made a buttload of money off the sale of Keystone to Thor. Okay, and the Montanas had big electrical problems that were kind of like found out later that Thor had to fix. That's what I was told by some guys that used to be a part of the new Keystone management back in the day. Okay. Then they started Grand Design, but they've also started some boat companies in between and some other adventures that they've done. So yes. Yes and no. I don't know how they're going to deal with the manufacturing side yet. They can't. See, here's the thing that most people don't understand. Yeah, but everybody has problems, but I'll explain Alliance in a minute. Brinkley RV, oh, they will sell. It's just when. It might be a few more years, but they'll sell. Okay, their history. Their history. A zebra doesn't change their stripes, and they have a habit of pumping and dumping. Okay, no, trust me. It will shock me if 3 years from now they still own it. It'll completely shock me. If 3 years from now, if they're still the owners, it'll absolutely shock me. Do I think Brinkley will try to fix the units before they go to the lot? If they have a fix for them, yes. See, you gotta understand something. There's a common denominator between the customer that is reporting these cracks. Number one is they're kind of weekend warriors. These folks are using it every weekend to every other weekend. It's being used for 10 to 12 days a month. And it's not stationary, it's moving around a lot. You know, they're putting some miles on these things. Full-timers are reporting this. The guys that are using it 3 times a year or have it stationary parked and living in it and not moving it are not reporting this problem because, again, it has to move to create this problem because there isn't any flex. Okay? I don't think who has the money in the next 3 years, I'll tell you in a minute. I'll make a prediction. So I don't know if they're going to have the ability to fix it right away. I think they're going to have to ship them out and fix them as they come in. You can't simply pause manufacturing, send everybody home, and be on your way. You can't do that. You can't do that to your staff. You can't do that to your employees. The one thing that these guys have done really positive over the years is they've always treated their employees well and paid their employees well. So the reality is that these guys can't simply just hit the pause button, and all of a sudden, like, stop production. We're not going to do anything. So I don't think they're going to fix them before they leave the factory. But because, again, not everybody is going to have this problem, because if you're only using it 3 or 4 times a year, that stress crack may not appear for 10 years. If you're living in it stationary on a piece of land, you're never going to see that stress crack until it start moving around. So that's tough. I don't think they can. I think that would be very tough on the employees, the value of the company, the revenue of the company. You're probably going to piss off your OEMs, your dealers. You can't simply stop production right now and spend 4 or 5 months figuring out what went wrong with the engineering. Okay, it's not like aircraft carriers or something of that nature where it's going to affect people's lives. It's not like frame failure where they're having a problem with their chassis and their chassis is going to fall apart in the middle of the road. This is a stress crack on it, which can cause some issues with leaks and condensation and stuff, but I just don't see them doing that. I don't see a way they could do that. So in their defense, I just don't see how they could do that. Okay. Will they have a fix for it? I guarantee you that they will change something for year model 2026. I bet you they're already here. One thing I can guarantee you about that whole group is they're bringing in people and they're brainstorming, how do we make sure that this doesn't happen in 2026, year model 2026? So we can rebuild the marketing, rebuild it. And actually, in reality, they'll spin this thing really good once they have them fixed, where people will put them back on the pedestal. Okay? This is the way it is. Now, who will have the money in 3 years? Well, whoever buys Brinkley would have to have the cash assets. In 3 years, you will probably see, more than likely, Thor Industries will have the money and the capital and the credit to buy it. Okay? Now, a lot like Grand Design and Winnebago, and the reason why it should have sold to Winnebago, and of course, Winnebago, we'll say there was a certain video I released and it caused a shitstorm. But, because I found out some things that nobody else knew. But anyway, or nobody else wanted to report on. Anyway, Thor Industries needs a new shiny penny. Okay? God, I hate airing people's dirty laundry, but I guess I got to air this dirty laundry. Keystone had a horrible dealer days. Horrible. Like, dealers went to the September manufacturing dealer show in Elkhart, Indiana area, and Keystone came out looking like it was not good. Let's just leave it at that, okay? So Thor Industries has tried to make a turnaround, make some changes at Heartland. So far, that really hasn't caught on. I mean, we're 4 months in. It really hasn't caught on with dealers. If you look at a common denominator between a lot of the dealers that are successful right now, they either have Forest River, Rockwood / Flagstaff. They have Jayco. They have Arctic Fox, Outdoors RV, Alliance RV, Brinkley RV. They have a lot of these brands that are non-Thor brands. Okay? That's not saying Keystone's a pile of crap. That's just kind of where I think people, the way Thor runs their divisions, it's starting to upset the dealer base. So you need a bright, shiny penny to reel dealers back in. Brinkley RV is that new shiny penny. So I believe in the next 3 years, Thor Industries will buy Brinkley RV. Yeah, the dealers are not happy with not the product. The product's fine. The Montanas, the Cougars, the Outbacks, the Springdales, Hideouts, dealers are not unhappy with the product. They were unhappy in the way they were treated. Okay? It's tough for people to understand, because you really got to be in the industry to understand that. It's like this. Here, this is the best way I can explain it. Let's say that you go to your local grocery store. Okay, maybe your hometown has a personally owned grocery store, like bargain grocery outlet, bargain market, or whatever the case may be. And you walk in and you see an apple for $1, or a pound of apples for $1. Okay, and you go and buy it. And then 2 weeks from now, you walk in there and it's $1.25. And you go, I'm going to hold off, but I got to go run to Walmart. And you go to Walmart, and Walmart's selling the same apples from the same farm, from the same manufacturer, for 50 cents. You get my drift? Because that's the best way to explain it. Well, Don, you never get factory warranties only last a year anyway, for the most part. I mean, everything else is pissant. No, I know, Nathan. That's the best way to explain it, is using a grocery store analogy. It's the best way to explain it, because I mean, it's so complicated. It's not like an easy explanation. You know, um, it's just not. One reason why a lot of dealers like dealing with Forest River is Forest River does give a small kickback check if you hit certain amounts of their inventory sold, certain percentage sold, etc., to a dealer. And that number changes depending on the size of the dealer. But the initial cost of, let's say, a Rockwood or Flagstaff travel trailer is about the same for everybody across the board, except for shipping costs. So, that's why a lot of dealers prefer to deal with, Coachman and Primetime and Palomino. These are all Forest River companies. And it's the same reason why they rather with like Arctic Fox, Northwood Manufacturers RV, Alliance it's just a little more of a level playing field with things. So, I know Thor's trying to change that, but they're getting a shiny penny. And just like Winnebago needed it a couple years ago, Thor needs it now. So, if I was going to make a prediction, the prediction would be that Thor Industries will buy Brinkley in the next 3 years. It's not going to happen tomorrow. It's not going to happen 6 months from now. But it'll happen the next 3 years. Yeah, but Thor's owned Airstream for 50 plus years. Airstream sales are down for a different reason than most people think. Airstream sales are down because typically don't get rid of them. So you have two buyers. You have the people that are wannabe Airstream buyers. They buy used. And they are wannabes because they can't afford a new. They have the Dom Perignon taste with a water budget. Nothing wrong with that, but that's just a fact of life. The people that can't afford new, they buy new, they typically hold on to them for 10 years. Average Airstream owner owns their Airstream for 10 years. Okay. And typically an Airstream owner is going to sell it privately to someone who's got the water budget in 10 years. Typically, an Airstream buyer doesn't go and buy another Airstream after they bought the first one unless they're going bigger. Most of the time, they transition themselves into a motorhome. Most Airstream people that I know and that I've sold or taken their unit in trade or consigned their unit, they transitioned into a motorhome. So you have a lot of people that are out there right now that can afford an Airstream but don't want to afford an Airstream. So that's why Airstream's suffering. It's nothing to do with quality or anything else. It has to do with they are a specific niche that right now is not being sought after. The Airstream buyers are out buying an Alliance, a Rockwood Flagstaff, a Brinkley, an Outdoors RV, an Arctic Fox. They're out buying something that's more in that 45 grand range, that 50 grand range, 55 grand range, than they are buying that $100,000 range. Check, it really depends on that has a lot to do with philosophy. Okay. So there's two philosophies. Okay. Philosophy number one is you have dealers out there that would rather keep their price high, not because they're trying to hammer you on the profit margin necessarily, okay? Because nobody's going to pay what they're asking. Everybody's going to negotiate. That's not the reason why they do it. They do it because there's a philosophy out there that 50% of people looking for an RV right now have a trade. So that you eat. So let's just say here's what we got. So let's say you got a we're talking about Brinkley today, so let's use Brinkley. Let's say you see a Brinkley Model Z. It's $30,000 more in Florida than it is in Texas. But the dealer but you got to trade, and the wholesale book on your trade is 10 grand, but you want 30. Okay. So the dealer in Florida, who's $30,000 more, is going to go, hey, here's what we're going to do. We're going to knock 10 grand off the price, and we're going to give you $30,000 for your trade. So then that person goes and shops the Brinkley in Texas, and they tell them, oh, no, we're only going to give you 10 grand for your trade. People don't put together the difference figures. They only care what they're getting for their trade. They don't look at most people don't look at the bigger picture because they don't know how to look at the bigger picture. So the guy in Florida gets the deal compared to the guy in Texas because of the trade-in value. Yet the guy who bought the product paid the same amount of money across the board. So show pricing and online pricing depends on the philosophy of the dealer. Okay? There's a lot of dealerships that carry a higher price, show you a more money for your trade because they're pretty much buying the trade-ins. Okay, there are some Camping Worlds out there, because remember, Camping Worlds are kind of individually run. There's some good Camping World stores out there. I know people bash the shit out of that company as a general, but there are some good individual stores, a lot of good individual stores. Okay, the store in Vacaville, California is a good store, as an example. It's run by a guy named Eddie. He's a great guy. Okay, used to be run by a guy named Phil. He was a great guy. But the philosophy is I can always replace the new, but I got to be in the trade right. So it limits the arguments about the trade. That's where my profit center is. And the only way to get those trades is by showing people a stupid number and eating it through that $30,000 profit. Okay? Because there are dealers that have simplified things because, and I know people are going to be offended by this, but look, the general public are morons when it comes to negotiating a deal. You guys listen to dumbasses on the internet of how to negotiate a car deal, and it's like, really? I go in and just sit down and actually talk with the person. I don't sit there on the phone going, what's your best price? I'm 500 miles away. I'm 2,000 miles away. What's your best price? Email it to me. I want it in writing. I mean, walk into your local dealer and work it out. If everybody did that and looked at the bigger picture, then it would be easy for all dealers just to be around the same price. Okay? Fact of life. Okay? Then there's dealers like the one I work for that I've been helping out, and another dealer that's in Turlock, California, that we don't give a shit about the trade. We're just pushing out new. We'd rather consign units than take it on trade. Okay? And when we take them on trade, we hit them hard because there's no profit margin to show you more money than wholesale. We're just volume dealers. So people get really offended when we give them a trade number. Extremely offended. And then they go buy at another place because they got offered $10,000 more, but they paid $12,000 more for the trailer. So that's how stupid people are, right? In general, that's how dumb people are. Okay, instead of looking at the bigger picture. All right. So we lose a lot of deals here because of trade-in values. Because we're cheaper than everybody in Northern California. So people come to this dealership for a lot of the products that they carry because they're cheaper than everybody else. You know, they're making it up through bank financing. They're making it up through, you know, hopefully the finance guy sells a couple extended warranties. And hopefully we can get enough product to sell 300 or 400 trailers this year. You know, they're not humongous. They keep their overhead low and push. And we don't get everybody because the people have trades. Oh my God, I would never take that kind of loss on my motorhome. Well, there's the book. I don't care what the book says. You didn't add anything. When? And I'm like, what the fuck? And then they go to the guy in Turlock, and the guy in Turlock hits them even harder on the trade. And then they crybaby the whole way home and complain on the internet. These dealers are trying to rip me off on my trade. Oh, it just makes me laugh how stupid people can be. Oh, it's ridiculous. Makes me wonder. Why wonder? Oh, boy, we get off track in this episode. Oh, somebody replied. The Facebook group guy replied. He's all upset because he says he has 12,000 members, and all 12,000 members never said anything about Brinkley's cracking their sidewall. I wonder what your settings are. I wonder what your admin settings are. People are such idiots. They're always upside down. Unless you're putting half down, you're always upside down in your trade. That's the beauty of financing it. See, people don't understand that whole concept, okay? Being upside down in your trade is, how do I put this? It's the cost of using the vehicle over a course of years, okay? So here's an example. And I explained this to one guy, and he actually traded in his travel trailer because he all of a sudden like, whoa, I've never explained it to that before. Okay. It's the cost of financing the vehicle. That's realistically is. Okay, so pay attention. And if you got a piece of paper and a pen, write this down because this will get confusing. You buy a $50,000 boat, travel trailer, car, whatever. Okay. Tax license, you put that as a down payment, 10%. So you're in the car or the vehicle, $50,000. You're making $500 a month payments. You make it for 5 years. In 5 years, you now own, let's say, $42,000 on the car or the vehicle, and the vehicle is worth 30 grand. Okay? So that means over the 5-year period of the loan that you've had so far, let's use a small number. Let's say 3 years, okay? 3 years on the loan. That means you spent $30,000 on the car in 3 years. That means the cost of the loan and the car was $10,000 a year. So if you added that up, okay, you added that up, that means the bank made about 9 grand on you in 3 years. Between the bank and the dealership, they made 9 grand. So on a $50,000 vehicle, that's less than 20% profit margin. K-Tech, it depends what kind of deal you're looking for, brother. I mean, it's not going to crash. In fact, prices already have gone up. I looked yesterday. 5 of the major dealers across the U.S. have raised their prices 3%. I told you prices were going to go up March 1st. I've been saying that for 3 months. Nobody believed me. Well, that's not bad. That's fine too. But I'm just telling you, like, you're going to lose money. You will trade in or selling it. You're upside down. Okay? People are not dumb. Just had a guy email me that has a 2012 Newmar motorhome. I've seen it. You know, he's sent me video and pictures. The thing is just, I mean, immaculate. You could eat off the floor. The guy spends the money on it to get it maintained. He wants 90 grand for that motorhome. He owes nothing. He's got the title. Okay? Wholesale book on it is $65,000. Retail is 79 grand. He wants 11 grand over retail. 7 months. Nobody's even called him. I go silver price. It's a $50,000 motorhome. Okay. Just had somebody with an immaculate Winnebago Adventure picked up their consignment because they want 100 grand for it. It's worth 70 on the open market. You got to throw out the book. The book doesn't matter right now. People know what the true value of these used units are. And there's so many used products out there that they're just sitting. This dealership I work for, that I've been working for, used doesn't last on their lot. Why? Because they price them right. I think the average days in stock of a trade is about 7. 7 days. Now, it helps that you got the honey badger doing all your marketing for them. That helps a lot. But the reality is no one's going to click on the ads that I've placed out there unless they're priced right. He's going to overspend on a private party purchase, and they're not going to overspend on a dealer purchase. Now, you might find that one dumbass that'll overspend because it's private party and they can avoid paying sales tax. They'd rather pay $50,000 for a motorhome that's worth 20 than buy at a dealer for that same motorhome for 25 just because they can avoid paying government tax and fees. I've seen that. Okay? That's so rare. It's so rare to see people overspend for private sales. So rare. Most people go private because they think that they can save money. The reason why dealerships have been so successful over the last 4 months selling a bunch of used inventory is because private party sellers are way up here. I want X amount. And dealers are like, woo, down here. And it'll go back. It's a seesaw. It'll go back. It's just like interest rates. When interest rates go down, prices are going to go nuclear. As interest rates have stayed high, prices have stabilized. Fact of life. You know, you're never going to, if you get what you want out of your trade privately, smile and run to the bank because you found the one sucker that doesn't do their homework or their research. And if that's what you're waiting on, I ain't going to tell you any different. I'll call you an idiot, but I'm not going to tell you don't do it. You know, used anything is there's a reason why people are shopping used. Okay, the main reason is money. The main reason is the payment's cheaper. Main reason. Okay, anybody who says anything else is making up stories. I've proven that a million times in my career. 15 years of doing this, I've proven that a million times. Now, one thing I will say, that's good. I think you overspent a little bit, but that's okay. I don't think you overspent by much. Well, I don't think you went nuclear on it, but I mean, we're selling stuff like that for like 13 grand, 13.5 right now. You know, Sunset Trails back in 2014, I was selling for 19.9 brand new. You know, back in 2014, you know, we were selling stuff like that for 20 grand to 24 grand, depending on how you option it out. If you had 2 ACs, 50 amp service, we're probably closer to 22 to 24 grand. You know, so at 17.5, 11-year-old coach, I guess that's okay. I don't think that's terrible. But we just sold something similar to that for like 12 grand the other day. And we made a little money. You know. Well, I mean, there's several companies, and it depends on what your budget is. You know, that's what I always tell people. Like, you can ask me that question, and I'm gonna point you to $500,000, $1 million coaches. I mean, there has to be context in that. So, like, you know, let's say your budget's $400 a month, $500 a month, maybe 50 grand, 60 grand cash. Nash travel trailers. Rockwood Flagstaff, Keystone Cougar, Jacob Whitehawk, Outdoors RV. No, Outdoors RV is a little more expensive than that, but give or take. Arctic Fox. Anything built by Alliance RV. That's fiberglass. if you're fifth, I don't know if they still build the travel trailer, but Cedar Creek by Forest River, I know they build a fifth wheel still. If you're spending $100,000 or under, if you want to be under $100,000 and you're in a fifth wheel, Columbus by Palomino is not a bad one. They're easy to get ready for full timing. They're not direct set up for it, but they're easy to, and they're lightweight. Rockwood Flagstaff fifth wheels, Arctic Fox fifth wheels, Alliance fifth wheels. It just depends how much money you want to spend. Oh, that's not bad. Again, 4 years, that's not bad. They sold for like, the way they were equipped when we sold them brand new, they were around 22 to 23, 24 grand. So, 17.5 is not bad in 2018. It's not bad at all. We just sold one for 12. Something to that. 2 slide bunkhouse with 2 ACs. Aluminum. So that's not bad. No, but you use it more than most. So I would look at it. Well, what the industry considers it is very different. Most consider full-time. Most companies that I've talked to consider full-timing 365 days a year. 366 during leap year. When the Brady boys owned Heartland, Coley told me once that he believed that people that were full-timers practically just lived in it year-round. And that's why they built the Bighorn and the Big Country and the Landmark the way they did. They overbuilt, they made it butt ugly on the inside, but overbuilt the construction of it. And you can tell the 2012, 13, 14 Bighorns, if you see them now, they're in immaculate shape if people took care of them, and there's nothing wrong with them. They just overbuilt them. That's me. I consider full-timing anybody that uses it for 180 nights or more. Because there are people that are snowbirds that will start heading down to the southern states from, let's say, Canada and the northern American states, head to warmer weather, warmer climates, starting around Halloween, and they don't go back till mid to late April. I consider that full timing. So me personally, I consider it like, if you're going to stay in your coach, 6 months, that's full timing to me. But the industry, a lot of the industry people tell me year round, you're staying 365 days. 30,000 miles in 3 years. Shit. That's awesome. Oh my God. It's early in the morning. I'm yawning. That's not good. Party like a rock star. You don't need one. Yeah, I'd consider that full time, Nathan. Yeah, me personally, I would rather see you in a full time unit. Like I'm staying in a Lance travel trailer right now, and it's a 4 seasons unit. But there's things if I were to stay in this trailer full time, even though it's considered full seasons, because it's a 2012, so it's an older Lance. Even though it's considered 4 seasons, there's things I would do, just like my kids and their mom does up with the Cougar up in Oregon. There's just things you got to do, pardon me. But yeah, it's just one of those situations where, what the hell? Yeah, it's just one of those situations where, you know, you can call it full-time. Yeah, that's fine. That's a full-time unit. As long as I have a 2019 Cougar 3, it's a fifth wheel. It's 42 footer with a separate bedroom. It's the 391 BH. I think what it is, 391 BH. It's got the heated tanks and sealed underbelly and the extra layer of insulation and blah, blah, blah. Oh, okay. So you overpaid, just like everybody in 2021. Hell, I overpaid too. We all did. It's just a fact of life. Ooh, my stomach. Oh, good Lord. I think I'm going to have to call it a day, guys. I will talk to you guys another time, okay? Talk to you later.